Hey everyone, SunTide here. Hope you're all doing great. I definitely am, because today they finally released the newest weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds, which are these two pickaxes. This was supposed to be released last week, but there's apparently a bug with the weapons. Now it's all fixed, and so today we're going to talk about what the pickaxes do, how good they are, and yeah, stuff like that. So basically you can get them if you finish this event quest called Hungry for Ore. You fight two tempered Gravios, but if you can beat them both, you can get some worn pickaxes. And with worn pickaxes you can craft long swords and sword and shields, which both look like pickaxes. So right now I have the long sword equipped, so this is called the Mad Scavenger Pickaxe. You have to upgrade it once. And if I swap to the sword and shield, you can see this one. This is the Digmore War Pick. I think they both look pretty cool. I like the cool crystal design. For the longsword, if you charge it up, it starts glowing red hot, which is very cool. Very well animated, as someone who sees metal is red hot fairly regularly in my career. It's pretty well animated is what I would say. But yeah, so pretty cool weapons. But the question is, how good are they? So basically, when they're fully upgraded, these weapons have 180 raw, 60 or 70 sharpness for the LS and the sword and shield respectively. They have some pretty good weapon slots, so they both have space for two 3-slot weapons and one 1-slot, and they both have the skill Power Stone. So the bad thing is that this raw value is very, very low. 180 is really bad compared to a raw maximum Arcane, which can have something like 225. Affinity is not there, there's no element. The sharpness is above average, but not great. The slots are also above average, but not great. So really, it all depends on how good Power Stone is. If Power Stone is even above average, the weapon will be pretty bad just because the raw value is pathetically low. But if Power Stone is good, then perhaps we can have something there. So, how good is Power Stone? What does Power Stone do? So, rather than tell you what happens, I thought I'd quickly show you. So let's find some ore. There should be some nearby this camp. Right now I have 196 raw attack, and if I go here and I mine this ore, how much raw will I get? Let's see what I get. I pick up the mine and I get, what's my raw? It is 226. I gain 30 raw. But if I keep on picking up, what am I going to end up with? I'm going to end up with 286 raw. I gain 90 raw from Power Stone, which feels absolutely ridiculous. So in slightly more detail, how it works is you basically get up to 90 raw for 90 seconds. And I get a specific amount of raw depending on the ore I pick up, 10, 15, or 30 depending on the ore, and it stacks up to this maximum of 90, giving me up to 286 raw here. And the duration resets every time I pick it up. So you can see the meter on the top left of my screen. It's about halfway full right now. If I pick up more ore, I'll stay with 286, but the duration will refresh up to the maximum. So yeah, that's basically how it works. In slightly more detail, so this is how much raw each piece of ore gets you, so 10, 15, or 30. It seems to depend on the rarity of the ore you pick up, so a lot of the stuff in low rank give you 10 raw. The rarity 506 items, which you get in high rank, are going to give you 15 raw. And Nova Crystals, which are the rare drops, will give you 30 raw, but they're pretty rare and they have a longer animation when you pick them up. The raw bonus you get stacks with basically everything, so you can use Might Seed, you can use Demon Shard, you can use whatever you want, and you'll still get the max plus 90 raw, which is very nice. If you swap to a weapon without Power Stone, you will immediately lose the buff. So I think right now I have two weapons that do have Power Stone, so I'll keep the buff when I swap it, but if I had another longsword or another sword and shield, the buff would go away, so no cheating that way. And there doesn't seem to be any way you can increase the duration. I tested with Power Prolonger, I tested with Focus, I tested with Item Prolonger, none of them seem to work. So yeah, that's just how it works, so you're stuck with a 90-second duration, which is something, but it isn't great. And in slightly more detail, so basically what happens is you get the attack bonus when you pick up the ore. So if your Palka picks up the ore, it's not going to help you. If you break the ore, it's not going to help you. So what you can do is you can basically break it first. I think you can roll to cancel the animation of you breaking the stuff, and then you can start picking it up with your Slinger to refresh the duration halfway through a fight, which is a pretty cool option. So yeah, you can basically break the ore, roll to cancel the animation, and then if your duration is going to run out and you're nearby an ore, you can just use your Slinger, pick it up halfway through, and go back to the fight. So there's an option there. But in practice, getting that 90 seconds is going to be pretty hard. What is going to help is the Geologist skill. So the Geologist skill, which I have now, doubles the amount of ore you pick up, which also doubles the growth rate. So if you pick up fusion, you will get 2 fusion, and then you'll get plus 30 raw for just picking up one thing. If you're lucky enough to get Nova Crystal, that should give you 60 raw just for picking up one thing, which is great. And since each of these ores, each of these veins, have 3 things by default, then you should max out your attack with the 1 vein if you have the skill Geologist. So I'd recommend getting Geologist 3 if you are wanting to use the skill. But the question then is just how good is it? So I used my build calculator to calculate how good these were. I found optimal builds. You can see that on screen right now. Basically, a pickaxe, if you have 100% uptime on the max damage, is about 11% stronger than a maxed out Artian, which is actually quite a lot. Like 11% damage is crazy. You need about 65% uptime for it to be worth it. So if you want to swap an Artian to a pickaxe and to make the pickaxe worth it, you need to make sure the skill is active 2/3 of the time. And genuinely maintaining that can be pretty difficult. Like, there aren't that many ore veins on the map, and they're all pretty far from, where you might want to fight the monster. So, like, Cormagallis over here, there are no nearby veins in many places in this specific map. There's one over there, there's one over there. So, unless it's in those places, I'll have trouble keeping the uptime up, which is pretty unfortunate. So, yeah, basically, how good the skill is depends on where the monster is, where the ore is, and how long the fight is going to be. If the fight lasts a long time, then I'm going to run out of my buff. I'm going to run out of ore before the fight is over. So that makes it pretty difficult to take into account. But the breakpoint is about 2/3. So if you can keep the buff up for more than 2/3 of the time, then you want to use this. So my assessment is that it basically seems like a sort of speedrunner weapon, or a weapon if you're going back for an easy hunt. If you can beat the monster really quickly, if you can beat it in 90 seconds or so, then it becomes very worth it. You can just get the buff by taking the first vein you see and then going in on the monster with like 11% more damage than you would have had otherwise. And that should be worth it. What you can also do is you can, say, use the pickaxe as your primary weapon, mine, beat up the monster. When the buff runs out, swap weapons, and then have a good weapon for the rest of the fight. That could be really good for the sword and shield. For the longsword, I don't think that's a good idea, just because you need to increase your spirit again to a higher level, which could be a bit annoying. You lose a lot of damage when you aren't in red, and if you swap weapons, you're going to go back to like gray spirit. So yeah, basically I wouldn't really recommend it. That being said, the builds that I would use them for are on screen right now. So basically, because you have such high raw, you want to increase your affinity and get high crit as much as possible. Here's a normal raw build, here's a Mind's Eye build. Again, they're both going to be like 10-11% stronger than an Artian weapon, so long as you maintain 100% uptime, which you probably aren't. Try to get 65% uptime if you want to use this. So yeah, basically that's this video. Quick video here. So the summary conclusions: for pickaxes, very interesting options. They can have substantially higher damage than any other weapon, so long as you have ores around. However, maintaining uptime in hunt could be very difficult. If you're going to try, make sure you use Geologist. Try and use your Slinger to try and pick up ore that's nearby. However, if you're getting through an easy hunt, that becomes much more viable. You can beat the hunt very quickly and have the very high damage for that hunt. So consider trying that. But yeah, with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. What do you think of the pickaxe? What would you do? Would you want to increase the duration? I feel like if the duration increased too high, it would become such a good option that we would be forced to mine during a fight, which could be pretty weird, right? Would you want to do that? What would you think? Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, in any case, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.